Before I share some of my most strange and unusual supernatural encounters I had in my lifetime, my love, I think it is imperative to give you a disclaimer before we start, since I have noticed that so many alleged ex-witches that had demonic testimonies about scary encounters with supernatural events they had until Jesus saved them. It was hard to believe their story because they were in a state of hysteria, and as a witch, I'm not. My whole life as a witch is to remain calm, rational, and observant of the things that are around me, no matter how strange or bizarre they may be. As a result, I'm not one of those ex-witches that believed my encounters were demonic in nature. Yes, they were very strange and scary, but I have no fear. So, everything I ever encountered in my life was done with a clear, rational mind that took each experience for what it was: strange and unusual. And even though some of the encounters were life-threatening, that is what makes life fun as a witch, haha. In all honesty, though, please remember the importance of centering and grounding yourself at all times. That is the most important thing of being a witch, because it is not the spells or magic that will keep you out of trouble. It is the maturity to take the time to remember the special person you are in your daily studies as a witch, so you can stay focused, even when everything around you goes to hell. Laugh out loud. Well, I never know what is more intense in my life: real supernatural ghosties, or living people that are very different from the norm. I have had thousands of supernatural encounters in my lifetime as a witch. Some of those encounters happened when I was sound asleep, only to be awakened by a noise skittering on the floor. And when I turn on my light, I happily see that my cell phone wants to crawl around on the floor until it decides it wants to fly and crash into the wall. Do you know what my response is to my misbehaving phone as a witch? I pick it up to see if any dead people want to talk to me. I also check to see if it is still working, because you have to be practical in the supernatural realm, and that ghost is going to pay for my broken phone or be put on timeout. Haha. Remember, my love, we still are in our private sacred circle and haven't crossed back to the normal world yet. So this is our little secret I'm sharing with you, okay? I know everything I am telling you is completely bizarre, but everything I'm sharing with you really happened to me, and this is not a fictitious book I'm writing. I normally don't virtually kidnap someone to tell my stories to, but you needed saving, haha. And I'm glad we have this time together, my love. Anyway, I'm just so glad to finally have a pen pal friend I'm writing to and being able to share my deepest, darkest secrets with you. I hope you are entertained, educated, and inspired to live your life for all it's worth, my love, because keeping things bottled up inside of me is not a good thing for me to do. So you're helping me out by finally being able to tell my story of how hard it is to be a witch sometimes. Kind of like my next story, I want to share with you of the time I gave up witchcraft for 24 hours so I could just be a normal person for a day. To kayak at the lake by myself during a severe weather alert at Canyon Lake, located inside the Devil's Backbone area. Come to think of it, that may have not been a normal day after all, haha. I mean, really, how many times have you seen a lone girl paddle a kayak in the middle of a large lake in severe weather, far away from the things of man? The day turned out very normal, but by nightfall, everything went totally bizarre. And at the end of the story, there were more questions than answers I could come up with as I reviewed this strange supernatural case that occurred to me several years ago. When I shared the story a while back in another article I wrote in a public site, I received some backlash from a few people that wanted to know why I needed a vacation from witchcraft to be rolling my eyes a normal person for a spell, ha. Well, in all honesty, I had a lot of different stressful moments that all came up on me at once, which caused me the need to have some time to relax and be able to reset myself. Like being grateful that the angry Christian mob armed with tiki torches, pitchforks, and Bibles didn't show up to protest our witches' family night out at the pizza place. While later on, hearing people saying, "You're going to burn in hell," and "You're Satan's daughter," on social media sites I was on. Compounded by the fact that Jehovah's Witnesses came to my door the next day with smiles on their faces. That is, Until they saw some of my ritual paraphernalia I left on the deck of my home from last night's SBAT ritual I had, which caused them to run away in fear, haha. It was all recorded on my home security system, where the women and children ran away like Satan was chasing after them, but after much discussion of what they should do, their brave husbands cautiously walked back up to my door, left a pamphlet with the location of their church to visit, which I thought was odd, because as soon as they left the pamphlet on my door, they hurried away too in fear. Based on their actions, I was confused. Were they inviting me to their church so I could join them and then be excommunicated from their organization for being a witch? It just didn't make any sense, and their little visit was the last straw for me. I had to give religion and witchcraft a break before I turn everyone into an eye of newt. After notifying my loved one and checking on the weather, which was forecast to be severe, I quickly grabbed my tent and kayaked to head out far from the things of man. I needed solitude, and with the bad weather forecast predicted, I knew I would pretty much have the lake and 2,300-acre park to myself. Besides, Mother Earth told me there was going to be light rain while I was there, and nothing severe. Oh well, so much for giving up witchcraft for 24 hours. Was this an omen I might have missed, lol? When I checked in, the park ranger lady told me to be careful because she heard there might be some rough weather heading our way and that there were only 5 people at the park, including Maine. I thanked her and headed straight for the dock, launched my kayak, paddled it to the bottom of the cliff by Camp Area 5 where I was going to spend the night. Hiked back to get my car a mile away, drove it to a lovely spot at the top of the hill by a beautiful primitive area, and went back to my kayak to spend the day in the water. Oh, it was heaven to be there, but in my haste, I forgot to bring food with me, so I paddled my boat to the marina about a kilometer away to see if their restaurant was open. It was overcast the whole day, and that was the only time it lightly rained on me. As I paddled to their pontoon harbor building hosting a flotilla of yachts docked around their harbor building floating in the water, I was relieved to see they were open. Even though I looked like a wet mop, which might be embarrassing for a mortal, but not a witch.
Darn.
Why did I have to give up witchcraft when I needed it the most, ha? Anyway, the server feminine and garçon were very kind and delightful people to meet, and they kindly gave me company as I ate the wonderful meal they served for me. They were very appreciative because there was no one at the lake that day because of the dreary weather, and we shared some wonderful stories about our life, and it was wonderful. Maybe being human wasn't so bad because I really cherished the time I got to share with that amazing couple, and they fed me so well I didn't need to eat again until tomorrow. I spent the whole day in the water, paddling to my favorite island, headed back to the other side of the lake, and swam most of the day in a private cove just below the cliff area by Camp Area 5. I was happy to see that the poor girl that drowned in the area over 40 years ago wasn't there. So she wasn't able to attempt to pull me near a tree that's hidden just under the water where swimmers can get caught and drown in, so I finally felt what it's like to be human after all. Haha. It may sound like a joke, but I'm serious about the girl I love, and I'm sorry I have to sound like a broken record, but I have to remind you that this is not a fictitious book you are reading. It's my life I'm humbly sharing with you. Anyway, with disclaimers behind us, this magical day was ending as twilight began to set in. When it did, I came close to shore since I didn't have any lights on my boat and continued swimming until it really got dark when I beached my kayak on shore. Swam a little more, and climbed the steep cliff to my car parked way up above me. Oh, the stars were so beautiful. And the waxing moon was going to set around midnight, so I thought that would be a good time for me to get my portable DVD player and watch one of my favorite movies titled Lady in the Water. It was an appropriate movie for me to watch since I've been in the water all day, haha. But I really feel the need to tell you something you might subconsciously be thinking about me that is important to this story. As you know, I'm completely by myself with only 5 other people in the entire park, and I was the only one in Camp Area 5 that is a massive area of picnic tables and deep forests surrounding the area. Most people are afraid of the dark, but when you have a father that taught you how to gut a deer and a mother that's shown you how to clean a fish, I don't think a person or monster, hee hee. would want to mess with a girl with that kind of knowledge, even if she is by herself in the woods? Besides, darkness was always a friend of mine. I always felt safe, like a mother's love protecting me in her womb. The dark keeps me safe. I always thought how strange people were regarding shadows and dark places that generated their subconscious fear deep within their being, but to each their own, I suppose. Well, my plans for the evening was to walk to the center and highest part of the hill in my camping area so I could gaze at the stars while watching my movie in total bliss. As I was making my way to the top of the hill, I noticed there were deer feeding on the grass acting very skittish, which was odd, since wild animals usually love me. But it didn't seem like they were afraid of me. They seemed to be more afraid of what was following me. Oh well, glad I'm not a witch tonight, I'm just a girl, alone in the woods, so ignore the red flag warning signs the deer were telling me. As I was walking to my favorite spot to watch the movie, I thought how great life truly is. In search for the perfect spot, I noticed that the trees were everywhere, but I found a perfect concrete picnic table I could crawl up to and lie down on to watch my movie. But something fell off when I did. I kept having visions of this table being a sacrificial one, but nope. I'm not a witch tonight. I'm just going to enjoy my movie. As my movie was playing while the moon set, it was a little past midnight when suddenly I felt the presence of something approaching me. I immediately turned off the light from my DVD player to see what was coming my way, and then they came. A royal couple that were wearing European Venetian masks and dressed from medieval times were coming straight at me. It was so bizarre that it completely kept me off guard and speechless. What made matters worse is that these things were not living entities, and I couldn't tell if they were once human when they were alive or never human at all. Since their beautiful hand-made crafted masks were concealing their faces, so I couldn't tell. I know this was stupid because I know they saw me, but I sat dead still in plain sight of them, even though I knew they could see me, but remained still to see what their intentions were. They got within a few meters from me and just passed on by, as if they didn't see me or completely ignored me, because my presence was no concern to them. They were only focused on their party, and so happy to almost be there. Well, that was a relief, but then there were more spirits that were following closely behind them as the few spirits walking by me quickly turned into 100 of them. The royal subjects of the monarch's group were wearing similar beautiful Venetian masks like the king and queen were wearing. But they didn't have as many precious stones in their mask like the royal monarchs had, and then the peasants passed by. But all the masks they were wearing were very scary looking of monsters and creatures that looked evil. It was awesome, haha. Too bad I wasn't a witch that night, so it was a little unnerving to a little old human like me, winky face. I just wanted to have one night of peace as a human being. Was that a little too much to ask for? Now, as a witch, I have to observe what I witnessed. I observed unknown spiritual entities walking to a cotillion masquerade ball celebration that somehow merged their world with ours. As they walked/floated by me to the lake below, where I believe their party might take place at, it was nice to see they completely ignored me. The portal area they were walking from was by a tree that became foggy just before they appeared. They all seemed to be from Europe, which was strange because nearly all of the people in the area are American, and the only legends of the area I know of were spirits or ghosts that came from Native American spirits, Civil War ghost soldiers, a few local people that had a tragic death and died suddenly like in a car wreck, and of course, the 100-plus people that drowned in the lake since it was created by a man-made dam from the 1950s. There were no legends that I heard of involving European spirits in the area, which made this case so interesting. Why were they here? Why were they wearing Venetian masks? What kind of party or Sabbath required masquerade masks? I don't remember the exact date, but it was around the middle of August, so they weren't celebrating any human Wicca or pagan Sabbaths of Lugnasad, August 1st, or Mabon, September 21st that I know of. So, if they were celebrating a Sabbath, it certainly wasn't one of ours that I know of. The only other thing I could possibly think of since they were heading to the lake is that they maybe were celebrating a random anniversary date of anyone that drowned there. But that is a far-fetched guess, since I only know of Americans that drowned in this lake and not Europeans. They appeared from the high ground by some foggy trees, passed by me, and disappeared a few hundred meters after they passed me towards the lake. That is where our two worlds merged and separated from, so I didn't get to see exactly where they ended up at. Every single spiritual entity was oblivious to my presence, except for one childlike entity, and he was dressed as a scary medieval jester. If this little demon rascal were alive, he looked like he was around 6 years old, and even though he was small, he was extremely creepy. Once I saw him and he noticed me, I started to feel bugs crawl all over my body. Normally, I like bugs, they're my best friends, but it was extremely creepy to feel so many bugs crawling on my legs, arms, neck, and hair. I refused to believe this was actually happening to me. So I turned on my DVD player so I can have some light to look at my body and found several silverfish insects crawling on my right leg, a spider crawling on my left leg, a walking stick on my right arm, and several black bugs crawling on my left wrist that I don't know what the heck they were. The little jester was just laughing at me as I was unnerved by this unpleasant realization, which made me think, I'm out of here. Haha. This is the part of the story where I say I was brave and didn't want to bother the spirit's ghostly party, so I quietly and discreetly walked away to my car to get some sleep until morning arrives. But as I was walking to my car, that little jester kept following me. Fortunately, I didn't set up a tent on the ground that day because it was too wet and raining, so I could leave any time I wanted to without losing any equipment. I also had my kayak on my trailer too, but it was already around 12:30 at night and decided to lock my doors, sleep in my car, and wait until daybreak to drive home. Ha! Like a locked door can keep a ghost out, sheesh. Well, as I was trying to sleep in my car, that little punk was right next to my door, but he was so small he kept jumping up and down so he could see me. It was almost as if he was teasing me, playing peekaboo, I see you all night, and after about 30 minutes of his games, I crawled from the back seat to the driver's seat of my car and drove home. When I arrived home around 2 o'clock in the morning, my hubby asked me why I didn't stay the night like I planned. I just joked and said I didn't want to disturb a group of people that was having a party in the area, and laughed until we fell asleep. My hubby is a pure Christian but knows I'm a witch, so he knew something happened, but didn't want to ask me. My hubby is just like the fictional TV character Darren from the old TV show Bewitched series. That would rather not know what his wife was doing, haha. You know, that little punk kept hopping outside our home window trying to peek inside, but he never came in. Maybe he was like a vampire, and if you know the silly stereotype legends, they can't come inside your home or car unless you invite them in first. Ugh. Well, he certainly didn't get an invitation from me, and he stayed outside our window until morning, as the sun rose up in the eastern sky, and once daylight came. That little rascal disappeared from our home, and I never saw him again. Still, I felt sorry for him. Maybe he just wanted to play and needed a friend. I hope I entertained him enough, and he was able to go back to the lake where his other spirit family was located at. After that incident, I never seen him or his family ever again at the lake, even when I was by myself camping. So, I'm not sure what to think about this situation because there were so many questions than answers of what happened that night. I was awake. I never fell asleep during the ordeal. I am in perfect health. I don't take medications, and I am of sound mind and body too. I also studied psychology intensively, and for fun, I came up with a psychoanalysis rationalization to explain that strange night I had with my ghosty friends. The young jester child that was mischievous represented my conscious mind suppressing my desire to quit witchcraft that night. His presence was the representation of my childhood that I struggled with as I had to deal with supernatural things my entire life that is causing me conflict in living a normal life. Until I get these conflicts resolved, I'm always going to have my little demon friend in my mind reminding me of my true self I am trying to avoid. Yeah, right. Haha. In our next chapter, I'm going to show you in more detail the PMS of being a witch, haha. That is the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of witchcraft. It should be fun and hopefully educational for you as well. In the meantime, though, I need to close out this chapter. Before I do, though, I want to share two quick stories for you that really define my moments as a witch. It wasn't as intense as I died twice before, but became just as emotional as I had to deal with some really serious issues that brought me to tears in one and doubt in another. Also, before we leave this chapter, we have to leave our safe, sacred circle. We're still in my love. We can't stay in here forever since we have family waiting for us in the muggle world that needs time with us too, with lots of love. So let me try and be brief and tell you the time the Grim Reaper visited me on top of a mountain that chose me to die. Or make me fly from one side of the mountain to the other to avoid falling to my death. Remember now, this is a nonfiction story I'm sharing with you. Winky face. See you in the next story, my love.